welcome everybody that's just getting onto our session today. My name is Jack Miller. I'm the president of T360, and I have Dean Cottrill here, who is our brokerage consulting president and SVP with our company. We have a very special program for you guys today. We are bringing in a company that we've done some work with, and it has worked very hard on their own to grow and develop their company. So we're going to talk a little bit about what they have learned in that process and give some kind of real world pieces here. This is going to be probably about a 25-minute webinar total. So if you're marking your time, we're going to keep it short and to the point and have a lively discussion with a real world broker who's done some really great things for their company that we're going to share today. So to set up this conversation, we like to put everything in a process at T360. We're a consulting organization, so we take clients through a process. And so the focus of this webinar is about the discovery and benchmarking process and kind of some of the things that people learn early in doing this kind of development work on their company. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then our guest today is Ahdieh Company, which is little brokerage in Charlotte. And I've got Victor is here. He's the broker of Ahdieh Company. And so welcome, Victor. We're delighted to have you. How are you doing today?
Doing fine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's great. And I also know Julie may join us. She messaged in this morning, and I understood she had a conflict come up at the last minute. So if she comes on, that's who the person coming on is, and she is in charge of your marketing for your company. Can you tell us just a little bit about Ahdieh Company, a little history and the size of the company, and kind of just for context for the group?
Sure. Yeah. So Ahdieh Company is an indie brokerage in Charlotte, North Carolina. We roughly had around 50 agents at the end of 2018. We grew to 70 agents at the end of 2019, and we're continuing to grow now with the help of T360. So thanks so much to Jack Miller and Dean Cottrill for all of your advice over the past year. Very excited to talk about some of the secret ingredients that you have shared with us.
That's great. Well, we're gonna jump right into that. To set that up, I'm gonna educate the group a little bit about the process that everyone goes through right at the beginning of the program, and then I have some questions for you that we already discussed, and we'll go through those. So I'm going to come back around to you, Victor, in just a second. So one of the things that we do with every broker that comes to our program is we take them through this discovery process, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Dean's going to talk a little bit about it too. And the purpose of this initial process is just to help a company get a perspective on their strengths and weaknesses and all of their kind of core parts of the business. So we help our clients look at their people, their systems, profit and loss, marketing and brand. And then Dean, having been in brokerage for a long time, worked in very large organizations, he helps them work on benchmarking and looking at their business. You want to talk a little bit about benchmarks for a second, Dean, and just kind of give some context to this conversation?
Sure. So this is a process, as Jack said, that we take everybody through. I'm going to just take a step back real quick. A process that we take broker owners through, like Victor, like Julie, and we start off with this. This is our first step. It's called discovery. We want to know where you currently you are in your organization. So part of that process is we take a deep dive into the financials. We have a financial document that is a business overview spreadsheet. It's what we call it. And we look at it and we review 33 key benchmarks going on from everything from agents coming in and out, which is recruiting. With the next thing you see as a bullet is the churn or disassociation rate. It's a very important thing. Victor talked about his growth from 50 agents to 70 net agents, 20 net agents. In that process of 12 months, though, there's a disassociation or a churn rate that happens. So you lose people just because of life. People move, people have health challenges, you name it, as we all know. So you have to build that into your goal setting. So discovery, the key benchmarks, we evaluate financials, return on revenue, ROI. We look at your average commission, your average sales price. We look at trends over a 24-month period of time. And we basically, because we do research on the top 1,000 brokers, and we have a lot of good information and intel, not only from the top current brokers, but also from our histories of doing this for a long time and running large real estate companies, we're able to work with the Victors of the world and the Julies of the world and give them some insight into a red, yellow, green kind of benchmarking, let them know if they're in some areas, these key areas, they're in some challenging areas. There are some troubled waters maybe in front of them. They should look to maybe divert or change course, yellow and green. And we also get into best practices. So not only is it just discovering and sharing where someone sits in these benchmarks, we also then dive into best practices of how to improve in those areas.
That's great, Dean. Thank you for that that overview. Very helpful. So now we're going to jump back to Victor and talk a little bit about, you know, I wanted to have you share what were some of the things that you learned or discovered about your company in going through this process with us. Like, take us back to when you started and kind of what were some of the early discoveries that were helpful to you.
Well, so my first impression of the process was uncomfortable. It's kind of like staring at yourself in the mirror for too long. But it was very necessary. We started out by looking at, you know, our local market, our competitors, who we believe our competitors are, which is a task. It's a lot more difficult than it sounds. And by going through profiles of different types of brokerages, we were able to give voice to our strengths, and also we shed light on some of our some places where we can grow. And from that was kind of like a foundation upon which to build you know, the plan in place that you helped us with. Go ahead.
What were some of the strengths that you discovered about your company, or things that you were able to maybe recognize better after going through that process?
Right, that's a good question. So I would say that one of our strengths is that our marketing team and our sales team work closely with one another to provide a seamless customer service experience for the client. And there's generally, you know, the potential for leaders in a brokerage to kind of rise to the challenge. And I think that's what happened at Ahdieh & Company. We definitely had, you know, many different people at the brokerage to kind of step up and lead the charge, so to speak, with the client experience.
That's
I think it gave you some source of direction, Victor.
Say again?
Feel like it gave you a good source of direction?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you know, were there any areas that you found that you felt like you needed to make improvements to, or that, you know, came out of that discovery process or the analysis process where you said, oh, this is something we need to shore up or change? Can you talk about any of those?
Right. So let me share this with you. So in 2018, you know, we were still kind of getting organized with regard to, you know, different locations, you know, the expenses that were kind of, you know, going out the door, so to speak. And in 2019, whenever we started working with T360, excuse me, we managed to double our profit, not because we've sold more transaction sides. We basically sold roughly the same number of transaction sides whenever you compare 2018 to 2019. But we made some key pivotal improvements at the brokerage that allowed us to kind of realize, you know, a profit. And not only that, but we also were able to increase attendance to sales meetings. We had more trainings, classes, events. There's just this momentum that has built over the last 12 months that would not have occurred had we not taken a good hard look at the numbers.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And my next question is like, well, what are some of the specific things that you've done? And you sent us some earlier in the week, you sent us some photos that are kind of representative of some of those things. So I'm prepared to show those if you're okay with that.
That's fine.
I wanted to hear you talk about them. Do you want to talk about what you sent over, or do you have other things as well?
No, that's fine. I mean, you can share those pictures if you want. They're from an iPhone, so I apologize for the quality if it's substandard. But I was very proud to witness the Agent Advisory Committee, which let me back up for a second. So you, T360, kind of helped us zero in on some high impact initiatives that would later create like a ripple effect of positive change for the brokerage. And I wanted to highlight three things. One of them is the Agent Advisory Committee that is basically a committee made up of agents. They meet monthly, and the committee members are from each quartile of production at the brokerage. So we have feedback on multiple different programs that are available to agents at the brokerage. We also started a mentorship program, which has been very successful, and we started a Spear marketing campaign, which was modeled after Jonathan Kaufman of Nest Realty's Spear marketing program. And just on a side note, we had a really wonderful mastermind call with Jonathan following one of our retreats in Austin with you. And we were able to kind of hammer out the details of what this marketing campaign would look like for the agents.
Yeah, and for those that aren't familiar, we have mentors in the program that are also, brokerage executives that are building their companies, but have had a track record of success and have built their companies usually to around $1 billion in sales or more. And Jonathan is one of those mentors. So that's awesome. And I did pull up these are some pictures from, I think this was your advisory committee as at the company Christmas event that you guys did. You want to talk to us a little bit about the events that you're doing now?
Sure. Yeah. So during the meetings, I've had the opportunity to kind of sit on the meetings of the Agent Advisory Committee. They definitely recognize that we are only as good as the community that we serve. So they wanted to become more involved with community service activities on a brokerage level as opposed to their individual efforts. Additionally, they realized that we had a lot of potential for cross sales and networking amongst the agents at the firm, which we weren't taking advantage of. So, one way to address that was to plan more social events. One of the social events that they planned was to attend this concert, which was a Christmas concert back in December. It's not all business. I think they build rapport with one another, and the new agents who have just been recruited to the brokerage are talking to the top producers at the brokerage about how they can help with open houses, leads. Maybe it's as simple as delivering brochures to a listing. But anyway, the point is that we've had more in-house sales as a result of something so simple, such as a social event. Additionally, we've also, Lara Bucci, which is the vice president of the Agent Advisory Committee, has kind of spearheaded this effort with the Humane Society of Charlotte to create a quarterly opportunity. There you go. That's Savvy and Company agents being trained at the Humane Society.
It's fantastic.
Go ahead.
It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's fun to work with the animals, and there's no apparent benefit to the agents other than giving back to the community. And it's a good feeling to kind of leave a volunteering event with that. Essentially we do so much in our daily activities, and we sometimes forget to give back. So I'm sounding cheesy. Sorry about that.
No,
it's part of it. Yeah, it's part of building the culture of the company. And when people are coming to work for more reasons than money, when they're coming because they like the people they work with, they're supporting things that they care about in the community. I mean, that's sticky. That's what keeps people engaged in the company culture long term. So I think this is really a really good example of how you guys are doing that.
Right. And I think, recruiting agents created a lot of new challenges for the brokerage that we hadn't really witnessed before, not on this scale at least. So as I mentioned before, we recruited 20 agents, and this was the most successful recruitment drive ever at the brokerage. So what happens then is you have a lot of agents who don't have experience with real estate sales who are jumping in to a firm filled with top producers, and they sometimes feel as though they're missing out on something whenever they really aren't. And so it helps to have more experienced agents take other agents under their wing.
And that's part of the mentoring program that you've kind of put in place to help grow and develop those agents.
Correct.
That's awesome. What do you think is the biggest change that you've made? You know, and you may have talked about it already, but from your perspective, what's the biggest change you've made? Is it just a renewed focus or a direction, or were there things you decided to stop doing, or what's the big change? Because there's a lot of little things that you've done that have all contributed towards the success you're seeing from 2019.
Right. You know, it's difficult for me to pinpoint one because, as you mentioned before, we have done so much in the past year. I mentioned to Dean on a call maybe a month or two ago that this program that you have outlined for participants could have very easily been a 24-month program because of the right?
Yeah, no, it's not. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
There's the sheer amount of material that you provide and you ask your participants to go through, which is all very necessary. Again, I mean, I definitely feel that it all helped and it got us to the point where we are now. But it's a little overwhelming. I will say that we already had a very defined culture at Savvy and Company, which is very difficult to define at times for a brokerage. Mm-hmm. We already had a superb marketing department at the brokerage. But one thing that we were missing was having all the agents participate in what the brokerage, what leadership was doing. And that, in my opinion, has really helped us in overcoming the objections that we would possibly have been met with had we not included them in decision-making at the brokerage level.
Yeah, so involving them in the agent advisory committee and letting them have input and getting their buy-in and creating things like mentor opportunities for them. So that's awesome.
Victor, do you feel like, I'm curious, do you feel a year down the road from where you started this process, do you feel like you're different as a leader?
I've definitely grown as a leader. I think we all have to be comfortable with conflict on one level or another. And I think that when you stir the pot, so to speak, and you ask for all these agents with their feedback and their own opinions to come together in a room, you have to be ready for what that means, right? Yeah. But the growth that comes out of that very difficult situation far exceeds any discomfort that we experienced, that I experienced at least, while going through the process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excellent.
And it sounds like it gave the program, having a structure gave you the confidence to do that and to know why you were doing it and what you needed to do. So that's awesome. Yeah,
right.
That's awesome. So I saved the last question was, well, what are the results you've experienced? But you actually led with that very nicely. So just to recap, you had a net 20 gain in agents in the year in the program, doubled the profitability of the company, which both of those are, I mean, either one of those is a great result. To get both of those measurable, results is pretty awesome. And I think that your company's leadership and yourself personally deserve a lot of credit for actually doing the work, because we just provide the material and the coaching, but ultimately we can't come in and do it for you. You actually have to go do it, and that's the hard in our space. That's the hard part, is the doing. The execution is the hard part. So congratulations on executing and getting the results, and we look forward to seeing what you guys are going to be able to produce in 2020. So
thank you very much.
Yeah. That's really great.
Great job, sir. Great work.
Yeah. So I wanted to wrap up with a little bit, for those of you that are on the call or been on these calls before, we do these once a month. We bring in, this year we're going to be bringing in some of the brokers that have worked with us to talk about some of the specific things they're doing in their program. So today we talked about the Agent Advisory Committee. We talked about the Sphere Marketing Program that Savvy and Company implemented. we talked about doing more outreach with their agents to build the company and getting them involved in decision making. So those are some of the things we learned today. Next month, we're going to have another broker come and talk about their experience and what they've done to change the trajectory of their business. So we hope you'll join us on these future calls. Dean, I know we still have spots open for the program starting in March. So I just wanted to remind people of that. I think we've got a good group going for March. So we're excited about that. If you were interested in applying for the program, it's a one-year program. As Victor said, it could be two. There's so much in it. I've laid it out as a 2-year program, Victor, but then everybody wants it yesterday. They're like, I need it in my brain now. And so it's that challenge of if we could just download it into everyone much more quickly, it would be amazing. But we obviously lack that technology. So it's a year. We do some one-on-one consulting to close the gap. So there's curriculum and training, but there's also some one-on-one work we do with each company. We get together twice a year for retreats. And the focus is on learning new skills and things that all brokers and sales team leaders need to grow. You get to work with a group and you get to learn from other mentors and advisors who have built their companies. Similar to what Victor's going through right now, we have dozens of companies that have been through the program, and some of them we've invited to come back in and act as mentors and help other brokers and sales team leaders that are growing understand how to do it. We are looking for brokers or teams that are selling $30 million or more. That's not a hard number, but we're looking for companies that are financially healthy and ready to grow. You need to have some staff. As Victor said, there's a lot of work in the program. It's all work on your business, so it's good work, but you're going to want to get some help with it at times. Doing the competitive analysis is a big lift, and there's a few other pieces that it's good to have some staff help to help you do it. And we're really looking for people that want to go through this process with a group and with the support of our company to do it. So you got to be committed to growth. It's not a program for tourists. It's a program for people that want to take action. And we're really looking for those people because they're super fun to work with it. So if you do want to apply and find out if you're eligible, go to t3fellows.com, apply. We'll review the application and get back to you and let you know if any application we get, we'll tell you what we think you should do to grow your business, whether it's with us or not. So there's a benefit to just doing the application because we'll give you some honest, genuine, feedback. If we think you're a fit for the program, we'll tell you. If we think you're not ready for it, we'll tell you. We want people in it that are really a good fit and are going to be able to do the program. So the commitment for the program is $24,000, and there's $1,000 to sign up. It's paid monthly, and there's a termination clause if it's not working for you, or if we think it's not working for you, we can also terminate it. So we don't want to take people's money if they're not getting the results. But if you're interested, please do fill out the application. We'd love to learn about your business and be able to talk to you about ways that you can improve. So t3fellows.com/apply. Victor, I want to thank you again for spending some time with us and sharing some of the results. Net gain of 20, double profitability. That's awesome. We look forward to seeing more of that in 2020 and to helping you do more as we are doing with many of the companies in our alumni group. Dean, any other comments, or Victor, you want to say anything?
Victor, go ahead. You have something?
Sorry to interrupt, Dean. So yeah, I just wanted to say we were going through some very significant changes whenever we first started working with T360. I don't know if you remember this, but we were talking about the profitability of one of our locations. We were talking about staffing changes, et cetera. And you were so instrumental in kind of keeping us grounded and looking at the numbers and helping us decide as to whether or not something makes sense financially, which kind of set us up for the year. Also, you encouraged us to work on the business as opposed to in the business. We, on a leadership level, have always been very consumed by selling, and not as much time has been spent on growing the business. And that was another thing that you helped us with. Also, I feel like we briefly touched on the Sphere marketing campaign, but that could be a whole webinar all on its own. So if anyone has any questions about what that entails, we'd love to chat with you about that.
Well, that's a great suggestion, Victor. I'd love to do maybe like a best of where we can go through and say, hey, here's some of the coolest marketing programs and Sphere work and things that our brokers have done to support their agents in business generation. I think it's a cool idea. I'd love to have you guys show off what you've done. And I know it's also something, it's fun, it's tangible. people see it and they see the value of doing it and get excited about doing it. And it's a great way to support agents in their business. So, so thank you again. Thank you for the additional comments. That's awesome.
And that's module 8 of the 10 that we dive in over the 12 months when we talk about business generation, SOI plan, things like that. So we definitely would invite you back, Victor, talk about your success and things you guys have put in when we get to that, because we're literally going to take everybody through there 1 month, each month, the next module, and just dive into it, give some insight into it. The other part that just make sure everybody's aware of is, and Victor just alluded to this, we become part of your executive leadership team. So not only do we have the set curriculum as part of the fellows program, we also become very supportive to you in running of your business. So when Victor, and I do remember very clearly, actually, Lexi and Julie reaching out to me ahead of time before the program even started, and we had conversations about the second location, staff, and some other things that we started diving into early on. And so I'm glad it's proved to be very beneficial, and love working with you guys. You guys are phenomenal. So just realize executive leadership, we're there to help support over the 12 months in addition to the curriculum.
And that's a really great point, Dean, that I did not bring up. There are 20 people within T360, and we have 7 field-based consultants that have expertise in merger acquisition, hiring, and staff hiring and management, executive placement, technology. We have several people in technology. We have a back office system and accounting system expert. So you get connected to an organization that has a lot of resources to help brokers and sales teams look at everything from people to systems to et cetera. And we serve our clients that way. We become an extension where you can ask us lots of different questions. So again, thanks everybody for being here and learning. And Victor, thank you so much for sharing Savvy experience and working with us and some of the success you've had over the last year. We look forward to more. And I'm gonna wrap it up because we're running up to the half hour, and I promised 25 minutes. So here we go. So thanks everybody for coming out. We appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Go out and sell some houses. Awesome.
See you guys.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.